Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first of my Christmas crafts for 2020. I have so many plans and videos lined up to share with you, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. We're kicking off my Christmas crafts this year with this adorable card using a limited edition Stamp Timber collaboration with Fawn and Simon Says Stamp. So let's get started and get right onto making this card. As you can see, I got the stamp set. This is kind of tricky to get in Australia because the shipping and the conversion rate, you literally have to trade in soles and limbs. So I was very lucky to get in on a group buy so that we could all get the stamp set. I could not afford the dies, so I have to cut everything out by hand, but that's okay. Just happy to have the stamp set. For this card, I'm also using the birch tree dies, some brown cardstock for those ones. I've got a card base, some white cardstock, and I'm going to use my Distress Oxide inks to make my own background for this one. And just as I start off all cards, I'm going to start with my stamping. I don't show it in my videos, but I'm going to stamp everything twice so that my lines are nice and clear. And now I'm going to get on to colouring. Today I'm using mostly Copics. I'm using my skin tone set, my pastel set, and a few extras that I've purchased over time. I'm using my super simple colouring technique of just using 2 shades per section and blending them together, so that I don't spend too long on my colouring, and because I don't have many markers to work with. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music as I colour in some of these pieces. If that music isn't Christmassy, then I don't know what is, and it is reminding me how close Christmas is already, and it's my baby girl's first Christmas, and it's also reminding me how unprepared I am. So, having a moment now. Okay, so getting on to this little bit, as you can see, I'm using some of the tiny little chickies from the Fox costume set. And this is because those birdies are much smaller than the ones in the Seasons Tweetings set. I couldn't believe how big those birds are. When it arrived, they are just huge in comparison to all the little birds from the other sets. So I've gone back and found some of the little birdies and I'm putting them in the little houses. I did accidentally stamp one of the little wings hanging out, but then I thought, that's okay, I'm just going to do what I can to make it look like the little birdie's waving his little hand out of his house. And now I'm going to just finish off my colouring. Now moving on to building up my scene. From some brown cardstock, I cut 2 of the birch tree dies so that they look different, but I did them twice so that I could layer these just to give it a little bit of thickness and a little bit more dimension so that it wasn't sitting flat on my background. I set them aside to dry and then I got started on my background. For this background, I used 4 different Distress Oxide inks, some Chipped Sapphire, Salty Ocean, Peacock Feathers, and Cracked Pistachio. I love blending blues together. I think they look so beautiful and I feel like they blend really well together. It's like all the colors get along and they're really easy to get that beautiful transition from dark to light. Once I had done all my ink blending, it was then time to start adding some dimension to this background. I love the Distress Oxide inks, but they have that really chalky effect to them and they can look very flat. So to give this one lots of texture, I added some water. This time I decided to use my paintbrush to flick water droplets all over it. I do like a nice little spray bottle, but it does give a very even coverage. And it's good if you want maybe a sandy texture where it's all going to look the same. But for something like a sky, and with this one I wanted to look like it was snowfall, so I wanted these drops to be uneven. So for that, I load up my brush and I just flick it around and let big droplets fall and little droplets fall until I'm happy with how much is on there. I then added some flecks of my favorite yellow gold watercolor pigment. I love how shiny these are and they just really make the backgrounds look so beautiful. Something I've noticed with Distress inks and Distress Oxide inks is that once you add water to them and you put them onto a background that's still a bit damp like this one, they really blend in. And that's good for most things, but if I want white, and today I'm doing snow, and I want it to stand out and stay bright, I find that I can't use those inks, and so I use an acrylic paint instead. Actually, I think this one's a poster paint. I don't know if there's a difference, but I use a kid's poster paint from Kmart. It's like $2 a bottle, and it's probably big enough to last me the rest of my crafting life. To decorate my background, I wanted these string lights hanging behind the trees, so I stamped them straight onto my background with some embossing ink, and then I embossed them with some white embossing powder. To decorate this background, although it's got lots of cute little snowfall flecks all over it, I did want to add some snowflakes as well, something a little bit more defined. So I covered my background in my anti-static powder and I just sporadically placed some little snowflake stamps all over it. For these snowflakes, I used the old, I think it's like winter gift tag set. I've had it for a very long time. It's a very cute little simple set and I really love the snowflakes in it. I also covered them with white embossing powder and went and heat embossed them. Here I am just rounding the corners, getting my background ready to place all my images on before sticking it onto my card base. Before I put my little images on, I thought I would colour in these little lights in different Christmas light colours and add some white details to them so they look shiny. I then began gluing down all the elements to this little scene. I wanted my little birdhouses to be hanging from the trees, so for this I used the stamp and stamped directly onto my background. I didn't need the bow as I had already coloured some in and was going to put them on the front of my little birdie houses, so I stamped just enough of the little wire or string, or whatever it would be, that they're hanging from. I then loaded them up with some foam squares to give them some dimension, and then I used my sentiment banner to map out where I wanted my sentiment so that I wouldn't put these in the way. To make my sentiment, I just used a scrap piece of paper and matching inks for the background, just using a couple of them to get a bit of a colour transition going. And then I did some water flecks over it and stamped my sentiment and embossed it before cutting it out with one of my banner dies. Just before putting my whole scene onto my card base, I thought it would be a good idea to put my sentiment on the inside. I kept something really simple for this one. I then loaded up the back of my scene with some double-sided tape and adhered it onto my card base. And now for something truly horrific. I went to stick it on and I stuck it on just in the wrong spot. I kind of dropped it and it got stuck and it was going to be way off center, and so I started to pull it off. I am so lucky that it came off in one piece and didn't rip, but I really pushed my luck with that one. But there we have it. This card is complete, the first of my Christmas series for this year. I really hope you like it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And please don't forget to subscribe so that you can see all of my other Christmas things that I have planned for you. Oh my goodness, there is so many. I think I'm up to 10, so it's going to take us well into December. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.